Hi everybody, my name is Jimena. I usually make content on Instagram and TikTok, and this is my first YouTube video. I'm a little bit nervous. I have been wanting to share my birth story, so we're just gonna go with the punches because I'm honestly a little bit terrified. I've been like picking at my nails. My birth story was a little traumatic for me. I feel like I'm ready to talk about it. It's been 4 weeks. I feel like the more I talk about it, the easier it is to just like heal mentally. So here we go. I asked you guys on Instagram to ask me questions. I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you the story, and then I will answer your guys' questions towards the end. So it all started I don't even know how to tell a story. It all started, I want to say Sunday the 26th, I think. Sunday the 26th. We, as a family, went to the pumpkin patch and just had a good old day. I made a joke on Instagram that I was gonna go on the hayride, and it said, be aware, like, this is gonna be a bumpy ride. And I was like, oh my gosh, yay, like, let's go on it so that we can get this baby out. Later on, I went on like the jumping pillows with my nephew Milo, and when I took the first jump, I swear to you, I like jumped and I felt a little like leak, but I thought I just like peed myself a little bit. So that was that, and I literally made a joke. I was like, oh my gosh, my juices are like leaking, but it was a joke. I had thought nothing of it, to be honest. Came home, fell asleep. Andrew stayed up all night, which is a good point because if he hadn't stayed up, I don't know what would have happened. So I went to bed at like a regular time, and Andrew stayed up, and then at like 3 a.m. I woke up just to do my like regular pee in the middle of the night, and I go to the bathroom and I pee, and then I get up and I feel a little bit more of a drip, and it didn't feel like I had peed myself, but I was like, it's probably just pee. I like wiped, and something in me thought like, I'm just gonna take a look at it. So I wiped, and then I looked at it, and it was like yellow greenish, and I was like, yeah, just pee. So then I just like went and laid back down, and Andrew had just gone to bed, so he was just like laying in bed on his phone, and I just laid there, and then I started talking to him, and I told him, I was like, you know what, maybe I haven't really like felt him move as much as I normally do. Like, I definitely have felt him move, but it wasn't like as intense. Like, he's always in my rib, and it was just not as intense. So I told him, and I was like, but I'm just like probably psyching myself out. And I was like, but should I call? I don't know. I'm really not good at telling stories. So I was like, should I give labor and delivery a call? And then I was like, you know what? I also had this like discharge, and I explained it to him. He was like, sure, like just call. And I honestly felt so silly calling because I was like, it's probably nothing, like I'd probably just peed myself. I called them, and the nurse told me like, you know what, maybe you should come in and check it out. If it's yellow, green, like you said, it could be this, I don't even know what it's called, but basically like he could have pooped in your womb, and that's why it might look like that. She was like, if you want to shower, like shower, take your time, just come on over. So I literally showered, got our things, and we were like, okay. So I didn't take most of our stuff. I just took like the bags that we had packed in the nursery. I didn't take like our pillows, chargers, like, because I was like, we're gonna come back home. You've got to be kidding me. The trash is outside, and they're cutting trees outside. So if it's noisy, that's why. Anyways, we get to the hospital, and I'm just like in the, what's that room called? Triage room. Something like that. They wanted to test me. They wanted to test the fluid that was like leaking to see if it was amniotic fluid. Right away, like she went in there and she was like, oh, like that definitely looks like, oh, meconium? I think that's what it's called when they poop inside of you. That definitely looks like it. And Andrew and I just looked at each other, and we were like, there's no way. Like, that means that I'm like in labor. So they went and like tested it, and it came back negative, whatever that meant. So they had to do another test, and that came back positive. So it was amniotic fluid, obviously. While we were waiting, I had like the contraction monitor thing on, and like his heartbeat thing. She asked me all of a sudden, she was like, did you just feel that contraction? And I was like, no. I was having contractions, and I was not feeling them. So anyways, the test comes back positive, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna admit you. So they admitted me into the labor room. That was around, I never said the time, that was around like 4 a.m. So by like 5 a.m. we're in our room doing nothing, literally doing nothing. So they told me that they were just gonna let my body do its thing, wait for the contractions to get more intense. And yeah, it was just a waiting game. They did tell me, you know, we don't want to wait too long, so like by like 3 p.m. ish, like we'll start you on Pitocin, or there's this pill that they give you, I'm not sure what the name of it is. Anyways, it's like 8 a.m. I'm like doing my hair, and then that's when I shared on Instagram that I was in labor. Then now it's like 3 p.m. I want to say, and they come in and they're like, okay, like nothing is really happening, so we want to give you the first dose of the pill. So they give me the pill, like induced labor. So that happens. Was that 11 or 3? I don't know. Anyways, so they give me, maybe it was 11, and then at like 3 they came back and gave me the second dose. I don't know, gave me like the second dose eventually, and my contractions started, but they weren't anything crazy. Anyways, that was Monday, all day Monday. I was like trying to just get things going. By the end of Monday night, I start to feel my contractions a little bit more intense. They just felt like period cramps, but like pretty intense. And so around 11, they were kind of getting like painful, and I was like, you know what, I think I want the epidural. Like, I don't want them to get too intense and then have me be like nervous for the epidural. So I like talked to them. I asked them if they thought it was too early, and they told me like it's never too early, like it's up to you whenever you want to do it. So they came in and talked to me about it, and they actually suggested that I did like the, not narcotics, are they narcotics? I don't know, but they're like the stuff that relaxes you for the epidural. So they have the gas thing, and then they have this thing that they put through your IV. So I did that, and it pretty much just made me like relaxed. Mother truckers, they're really cutting trees out there. Anyways, they told me that it was gonna feel like I had just taken multiple shots, but it did not feel like that. It just made me relax. It doesn't take the pain away, it just like made me relaxed. I was on that for like an hour or two, and then I was like, okay, let's just do the epidural. The guy comes in to do it. I'm like so relaxed because of that stuff that they had just given me. I just like sit up, and Andrew's in front of me holding my hand. I'm like breathing through it, everything. I wasn't feeling any contractions or anything. And all of a sudden, like I'm so relaxed, but all of a sudden, like he's like, okay, you ready? And I was like, no. Like I literally started sobbing and shaking. I was like, no, like I'm not ready, I'm scared. So I took a minute, kept like just breathing through it, and eventually they put the epidural in. It was honestly the least painful thing of the whole labor and delivery. Anyways, yeah, getting the epidural, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. I'd do it all over again. That was at like midnight. I just slept through the night. I think, I cannot remember. Now it's Tuesday morning, and okay, I'm just gonna try to push through this video even though they're literally cutting trees outside. So the next day, things are definitely progressing. Oh, they had checked me in the middle of the night, and I was at like a 3. No, I was at a 4, and that was that. And then the next day, which was September 28th, the day he was born, Tuesday, they checked me around 11. They didn't want to check me too many times because my water had already broken. So they like only checked me like 2 times, see if I was dilated. And so the next day at around 11, I was at a 7. So I went from 4 to a 7 pretty quickly. So that was that. No, that was like 9, not 11. I honestly could not remember. Like I need to film this now, because if I wait any longer, I'm just gonna completely forget about it. So that was at like 9 a.m. Anyways, by 11 they checked me again, and I'm at a 10, which means I gotta start pushing. So by 11 I start pushing. I pushed for, I want to say 2 hours. Nothing was really happening. They could see his head, they saw his hair, Andrew saw his head. Like he was definitely making his way down, but no progress was really being made, and they weren't really telling me that. Like they were just having me push and push and push. So that was that. Eventually, so they were just having me like push and push and push, and eventually it got to the point, it was like 3 or 4 hours. I'm not sure. I think it was 4. It was like 4 hours. So then it got to the point where his heart rate dropped, and they put like an oxygen mask on me. They were like, okay, we need to take like a minute. Like we need to just like wait for his heart rate to readjust. So that freaked me out a little bit. Then what happened? So that happened. His heart rate, I think, was fine. They had me push, and then they checked my temperature and they realized that I had a fever, which meant that I had an infection. That's when things went downhill really fast. Heart rate dropped, but then it was fine. But then I had a fever and I was shaking. It was chaos. So then I don't really remember like what happened next, but I just remember them coming in and they were like, okay, so we think that you need to have a C-section. I said, yep, let's do it. Like, I was so ready for a C-section. They came in and they're like, let's talk about it. Like, do you have questions? I said no. My epidural thing was starting to wear off, so I was getting so frustrated. No, let's get him out. It was starting to get really painful. There's this one part, and this plays a big role into like why everything was so painful. On my left side, like by my hip, like it was the most pain I've ever felt in my life, even though I had the epidural and even though I kept getting the boosters. It just, whenever it would wear off, the pain just came right back in this one spot. So at that point it was wearing off and I was like, let's get this shit done. Like, I want him out. I'm done pushing. I'm exhausted. It had been like 4 hours. So then a million people start to come in. I have to fill out all this paperwork. Meanwhile, I'm like shaking in so much pain. I'm like, please give me more of a booster. But they could not give me a booster because if I was about to go into the OR, they were gonna give me like this other thing and they couldn't mix. I don't know. So I signed the paperwork. Everyone's getting everything ready. By then I'm literally screaming in the most pain I've ever felt. It felt like hours of prep. So then they finally get me out of the room. They start to wheel me away. I'm like screaming in the freaking hallways. I'm done. And I get into the operating room and they're just like moving me, still prepping everything. And this is when it's just the most traumatizing part of it all. They're just like moving me from like the bed to the OR table, laying me down and just like putting my arms out. Meanwhile, Andrew's just standing there. And I was like, is Andrew even supposed to be in here while they do all the prep? He was just standing there and I could just like see him just standing there. Anyway, so finally just like laying on the OR table and they're giving me like the numbing stuff and I'm shaking. Meanwhile, my arms are out like this and I'm just like shaking on the table. And there's this sweet angel nurse named Shannon. She was literally my guardian angel. Like, I would not have been able to make it without her. She was just like holding my hand. I had Andrew on this side and I had her on this side and she was just like holding my hand, rubbing it, telling me all this stuff. Meanwhile, in my head, I'm like, this is never going to end. I feel like I am about to die. I would rather be dead than go through this. And that's where the traumatizing part comes in, because I wanted to be dead. I did not want to do it anymore. I didn't think that I could. I didn't think that I was gonna make it out alive. I didn't think I was gonna cry. So then they start to poke me around to see if the numbing stuff kicked in, and they like poke your arm to see what you're supposed to be feeling, and then they go and like poke your stomach, like where they're gonna open you up, and I could feel it, which meant the medicine was not kicking in, so I had to wait even longer. And if it did not kick in a certain amount of time, they were gonna have to put me under, and like Andrew was gonna have to leave the room, and it was all gonna be just more intense. So at that point I was like, God, please just like put me under. Like, I don't want to go through this anymore. I really did. I wanted to be out. I didn't want to be a part of it. So I guess eventually the medicine did kick in and they started opening me up. I honestly could feel it, but it didn't hurt. I think that's normal. I could feel like every single layer just being open. Eventually they get to the part where they take him out. I literally felt like the whole, just like the relief of him just coming out. And I'm pretty sure he cried right away. It's all like a blur. I'm like trying to put all the pieces together. Also, to add to the shit show, my right contact was blurry the entire time. I think it was from so much crying that this eye, I just could not see out of this eye. There's like pictures of when he was born and like they put him up to me. I look cross-eyed because I just could not like use my right eye. Anyways, they pull him out and I can like kind of see him. Andrew just starts sobbing and I'm like, I'm not crying. I don't really like feel any, I don't know. I thought I would like cry and be so, obviously I was so happy and excited, but I thought that I would feel something else when I saw him, and I did not feel that. I was so in tune with what was happening with my body that I was not in tune with my baby, if that makes sense. Which is something I just realized. Like I was feeling off for a couple weeks, just like not feeling in tune with like he's my child. I thought I was gonna feel differently when he was born, and I didn't feel that. I was so focused on my body and the things that I was feeling physically that like emotionally there was like nothing there, which is really sad. So they take him, and Andrew didn't even get to cut the umbilical cord. Like we didn't even realize until way after, when I was like, wait, did you cut the cord? It's just all crazy. So they take him out, they take pictures of him, they weigh him, and then Andrew gets to hold him. He's just holding him while they close me up, and I'm just like, at this point I cannot keep my eyes open. I am so exhausted. So eventually, after what felt like years, they closed me up and they're like, okay, like we're done, blah blah blah. So then they take me from the table to the bed back so they can wheel me out. And right away they're like, here's your baby. And I was like, no, like I can't hold them. Like my eyes are shedding. I'm gonna fall asleep. I can't hold them. But they still gave him to me. They still put him on my chest, and I just was holding him while they took me to the recovery room. So again, I was just like not feeling anything emotionally. Like I saw him, I loved him, I kissed him, but I just like I was just not feeling anything. And I get to the recovery room, and I have Andrew like take out my glasses because I needed these contacts out of my freaking eyes because I could not see. In the recovery room, they like have us in there they want us in there for 2 hours. And right away they're like, okay, like, do you want to try and feed him, like get him to latch? And I literally said no. Once again I said no, I can't, like I'm going to fall asleep. But they still made me latch him on, and we got him to latch. He fed fine, hurt like a bitch, but yeah, we got him fed. And that was pretty much it. After that, they took us into our room. I feel like this story was supposed to be longer. It just felt longer in my head. It felt like it just was never going to end. And so that was pretty much it. The next few days, we stayed in the hospital for 2 nights after that, I think. I don't even remember what happened. Honestly, just blacked out the first night. That was the delivery story and the labor story. I had heard people say that like, oh, I had a traumatizing birth experience, but I was like, what does that even mean? Now I know what it means, and it obviously looks different for everybody. Out of nowhere, I would get flashbacks when I would just like lay in bed, and it would take me back to the moment where they were prepping me, or like the pain that I was feeling, or just like whatever. It would just all come back to me, and I would start sobbing. I have not cried about it in a few days until now. There was one time where my mom was getting ready to put my binder thing on, like my faja, and I just had to lay flat on our bed, and I laid there, and she left to go to the bathroom, I think. I was laying there, I started sobbing, like out of nowhere. All these emotions just came back to me. I had a moment, like a flashback of me just laying on the OR table, feeling so helpless and feeling like I was going to die. And yeah, it's just like things like that. It's not as hard anymore, but it was just like my hormones and just everything. Let me know what you guys want to see. Comment down below, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Oh my god, am I a YouTuber now? And subscribe so that you can be a part of this family. And yeah, I appreciate you all, and thank you so much for watching.